CraZy 3 by DavJT is the long-awaited finale to the trilogy of the CraZy series that has become adored by a wide portion of the community, and for good reason. With this kind of weight to perform, when adding to the series you would expect Dav to eventually crumble to the expectations, but as you can probably tell, this has not happened. CraZy 3 is by far the most impressive level of the CraZy series, demonstrating mastery in the editor that Dav has gained over the past few years, embracing the circus theme to its maximum, using the song as an effective means of building suspense for almost a whole 2 minutes. This to me is what makes CraZy 3 stand out to the rest of the levels in the series, as Dav uses the length of the level to the best of their ability by building up the player's nerves through song cohesion as the level progresses, which is outside the norm of nerve building from making 0 errors up to a certain point, which is naturally still present in the level. To briefly summarize my criticisms on the level, it is clear that Dav suffered from creator's block during the creation of the level, which was bound to happen considering the attention to detail featured within the first 40% of the level. It is also quite clear that the boss fight was rushed to get the level out, as the suspense that was built up over the previous 2 minutes does not blend well with the lack of intensity at the drop. Now let's go into my more detailed thoughts. The gameplay featured within CraZy 3 is nothing that is outstanding compared to other extremes in this difficulty range. This is likely due to a large portion of the level being in the pre-drop, thus making it quite difficult to make something interesting, difficult, and fun. The reason why I say it's difficult to make slow gameplay fun is because it's clear Dav struggled in this regard. One of the main issues I have with the gameplay is that you will have moments where the level is moderately difficult, however will randomly spike in difficulty on 1 or 2 jumps, which just creates random choke points that don't really need to be there. What makes the gameplay in this level interesting to me is the pacing. The level has the right click density and level speed for the whole level, which makes the level quite enjoyable in that regard, which shows how good this level could have been without the random difficulty spikes. Speaking of difficulty spikes, the main issue I have with the level gameplay wise is the duel at 12%. The usage of dash orbs in that way I found to be super awkward, and on top of that felt different every single time I went through the part, which obviously presents some problems. A cool little touch I found in the structuring of the level are the usage of slopes when the song emphasizes the word incline.
We're inclined toward sybaritic exhortation you.
And the floaty nature of the build-up to create tension. The gameplay overall isn't amazing, however it is still pretty inoffensive as it is a lower end extreme demon. I'm just going to say this right out the gate, this level is beyond stunning. The ideas implemented into the level are executed in a manner that just shows pure mastery of the editor to the likes we don't see all too often. However, this doesn't exempt the level from flaws because there are a lot of them. To start off, it is quite apparent that the first 40% is consistently the best looking section of the level, with the amount of minor details such as the repeating use of the red balloon, the bursting of said balloon, the clean hand animations, and of course whatever this portal thing is. Everything just ties together really nicely and embraces the circus theme in such a brilliant way whilst continuing to build tension. However, beyond this point, a noticeable drop in quality occurs. This isn't me suggesting that the parts are bad, it's just a little disappointing that the consistency of decoration is lacking. It is likely that this has occurred due to creator's block, which is expected considering the amount of concepts that are condensed into the first 40%. The parts between 50% and the grey section are probably my least favourite parts in the whole level. If I'm gonna be honest, I'm a sucker for rainbow colours splurged across the whole screen, but in this instance they are beyond saturated. The colours in the foreground here, because of their saturation, take away the player's focus from the background, which, speaking of which, feels pretty empty as a result. I'm also not really a fan of the different rainbow variations in the parts that contrast with one another because they make some, let's just say, less than desirable colour combinations. After all this has happened, the players suddenly arise into by far the best section of the whole level. The grey section is a part that I can't fully describe myself just because of how good it is. I think what makes this part special is that it uses a ton of broken, non-linear shapes which heavily contrast the sections prior, thus building suspense as it does in the song. To further elevate the suspense, eerie reds and purples are featured throughout this grey part to imply that the player is not alone in this almost void-like setting. As the song continues to build up, the colours begin to become more intense, as evident in the wave section. From what I've heard, a large portion of the people who have seen this level believe that this wave section is empty, but honestly I disagree for the most part. The emphasis on emptiness in this part further heightens the feeling of isolation as well as the feeling as if you are not alone, which obviously is the case with the boss fight ahead. The only change I would recommend in this part is by adding some weak pulses on the piano notes just to make the song a little more impactful. Now for the boss fight. For something that has been building up for almost 80% of the level, I would hope that the drop would be extremely intense, and unfortunately this is not the case. It is clear that Dav wanted to rush this level out, and it shows through the sheer lack of detail in this part. To start off with, there is a distinct lack of background, making the part almost feel as if it's an LDM of sorts. Second thing is that the only color changing that occurs is in the block designs and the boss fight, which just evenly cycle through the rainbow, thus expressing no element of the song. I really just wish there was something minor to represent the song, like some small pulses just to add some life into this section. The only thing about this part that I enjoy is the laser beam that shines bright every so often. Then the level just ends after a short period of time. This to me just shows how much of an effect Creator's Block can have on someone, and how when building up a level for such a long time it heightens the necessity for a lengthy and highly impactful drop section. Don't get me wrong, this level looks great, however I feel it had some pretty significant shortcomings that considerably reduced the level's quality. As you can probably tell, I believe this level is really good. However, I still am left quite disappointed with the overall finished product, and I believe it's because of the lackluster drop section, as well as the roughly 1 year waiting period for this level, which for many others including myself, built up the expectations of the level to an almost unreachable standard, and I hope Dav considers this when building their future projects if they ever choose to do so.